This is the North End. This is the North End.
What up, YouTube? What goes on, YouTube? Tell me about it, YouTube. Long
What
time,
it do?
YouTube. Oh, YouTube, look, you're looking so good, YouTube. What's happening? Tell me about it.
Stop
What's up,
simping.
fellas? I'm just doing what we can, man. We got fans. We got like almost 400 fans now. Come on.
I know.
now.
I'm taking the numbers are jumping quick. Let's get that 400, 500, 600. Let's go.
Come on. YouTube, what's up? Gentlemen, how are you today?
Good,
Doing all right,
good.
man. Tired, busy, working a lot,
I feel that.
getting through life. World Cup starting soon, which I'm trying to find a way to look forward to. Which Canada are helping a little bit with that. So,
you know what? I'm kind of starting to feel the Canada vibes.
Yeah.
I was so anti World Cup for a lot of reasons, not worth getting into. But like now, I'm starting to get excited for the Canada part of it.
Yeah, that's it. That's the thing for sure.
I think that's kind of maybe the danger of the World Cup, though. I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Yeah, it's terrible," but also, I mean, England are in it, or Spain's in it, or like my team, my country, whatever. It'll be good. Canada will win the World Cup. It'll be amazing.
They'll be lucky to get through the group, but it'll be fun to watch for a period.
No,
of time.
we're gonna win it all. just as surely as I'm convinced the Toronto Maple Leafs will one day win the Stanley Cup, Canada will win the World Cup. It's as likely as having a World Cup in November in Qatar.
Well, you know what?
And that happened. Here we go.
We'll see about that.
JP, California, do you want to tell us the weather, or are you just gonna like act?
It's
like
been cold. It's been cold in California. It's finally
Don't.
turning winter. It's about 45 in the morning to about 70 in the afternoon.
Oh,
What
is
does
it?
that
Low
mean?
70s, high 60s.
California winter.
So how many inches of snow was that?
What's snow?
Shut the fuck up out cold when you're on the fucking call with a
Yeah.
bunch of Canadians.
We did just ask him about the weather there. We kind of
Yeah, but
but
then
it's
you can be
not
like,
cold.
"Ah."
But like,
It's like-
I
Not
don't.
cold, no.
It doesn't even snow where I live ever. We don't get
Yeah.
snow.
Right. So don't talk to us about cold.
I have to drive 2.5 hours for snow.
Be like, you know what, guys? It's been a kind of a cooler day here in California.
It's been a very cold day for California.
Not like, oh, guys, I had to wear a shirt that had
My
longer
heater's on.
sleeves than
My-
normal.
My heater's on in the house right now.
I had to put socks on today.
Oh,
I had to wear long pants.
oh no, California cold is pants. I get that. I get that all day. All right, well, let's talk about some stuff that happened in the news. Because we're a timely Premier League YouTube channel. We cover lots of stuff and we do it all the time. So you should like and subscribe, users and of the YouTube.
Including all of Luke's OnlyFans supporters. You guys should definitely follow us.
Yeah. For the tens of the elder gentlemen out there in the world that are following Luke Connolly on OnlyFans, also like and subscribe to this channel.
Now's your chance.
Yeah, we're free.
Yeah.
Why do you have a makeup brush? What are you doing with a makeup brush?
Because
This is what we do.
we're a very professional channel and we wear foundation. This lighting doesn't just happen.
Point of sleepiness where like you're past your bedtime, so you're like getting in that drowsy stage. You're like makeup brush.
I feel like I've been sick for a week and I'm heavily medicated.
Oh, that's the other round. That's a good one.
That's awesome.
Everyone's sick.
Would the sun
Oh my
fix
God,
that
yes.
like 70 degrees? Would that fix that?
Oh, shut up. Let's go. Let's go.
You
Frick.
terrible, terrible American human being. Okay, well, speaking of drinking cold medication and going on television to give interviews, Cristiano Ronaldo.
I thought you were going to lead with speaking of terrible human beings, but that was a good intro as
Say that if you want
well.
That would have worked as well.
Yeah.
Say that if you want to.
So good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I guess the open question is, how do we feel about this turn of events? I'm obviously the United fan, so I maybe feel a certain way. But as you guys watch the spectacle that he's made of himself, what were your thoughts?
I wouldn't mind going first. My thoughts are that it's most of what he's saying is true about the club, but his timing and his delivery and the fact that he did it on Piers Morgan is all pathetic and sad for a player that has done so much, as far as what he's done as a footballer. It's a sad way to go out, and that's really what it looks like is happening. Is that he's going to go out? Maybe he ends up playing at another big club, but it's just a shame. Kind of pathetic, really, and too bad. Again, he's probably right about most of the complaints about the club and where they're at, but not a way to do it. It's not a pro when you're in the middle of a season and you're supposed to be a teammate that's supporting the team. It's pathetic.
Yeah. JP, what did you think? Did you catch the interview?
I did. I just saw clips of it here and there. I read a bunch of it. It's hard for me to get the time these days.
I'm gonna say this though, like there's a different like. I have noticed that the edited together preview clips and sound bites when you actually
probably, it leads you a little bit different hold.
Of course it does. Context helps a little bit.
Right.
Full for the audience and everybody else. Like the first part of the 2-part 90 minutes with Piers Morgan was released today, but obviously 3 or 4 days ago, the clips started making it the rounds, the sound bites, and a lot of people were reacting to the out of context sound bites, like the comments about Wayne Rooney not looking good or being a jelly for like Ronaldo still playing. I don't think that's quite as hateful when you actually hear the entire interview. It's still a stupid thing to say, but context adds to it. So of the stuff that you do know about what he said, like what were your thoughts when this happened?
I mean, I agree. I think there's a lot at United that is not done properly. So a lot of United is falling behind the times when it comes to technology, rehab, fitness, health, and things like that. But on a personal note for him, it just seems like the dude is lighting his whole past on fire because he is such an icon to the industry. And it's like he's going out in a ball of flames. And he should have he should have done this internally, talked to the club, said, hey, release me in January so I can go anywhere and play one more season or 6 more months in the Champions League before he goes off to MLS. But he is literally just burning his legacy up. And
he's not allowed in the States, by the way.
He's just ruining himself. And it's kind of sad and depressing to see this happen to one of the greatest players of the sport, even if I really like how it's happening. So
yeah, that's a good segue for me to come in because I am a Liverpool fan.
Really? We didn't know.
Now there's I think Brian hit the nail on the head. He went first. Definitely the word pathetic comes into it. I have seen the whole thing. And, in some ways it's not as bad as Paul said when you get the context. But I actually think it's sadder when you watch it with context because it's not got the bite that the sound bites had, if you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. It almost is like it's kind of like played down. I already question the legacy of a guy at a particular club when you choose to leave and you engineer a leaving. I shared something in the group that I read today being like, it was a joke. It was like meme culture, but it was the analogy that like this guy left this, she left you 12 years ago and now she was ready to sleep with your neighbor who's doing better than you. And then she comes back and it's meant to be this like romantic thing. That's honestly how I viewed last year. Like I was a little bit like, United are bigger than that. Like Liverpool are bigger than that, by the way. Like when Torres left, like I wouldn't have given a shit if Fernando Torres came back to Liverpool, like ever, to be honest with you. And this has happened multiple times. Luis Suarez, like every time there was even conversation, I think around the time when Ronaldo was being bought, people were like, well, Suarez might come back to Liverpool. And I was like, I don't want Suarez back at Liverpool. Like the ship sailed, it's done. And then when he today goes on about being that close to being a Manchester City player as well, like he's saying it with his chest. So it's like, I don't know, like his greatness is undoubted as an all-time great. He's definitely in the conversation of the greatest players of all time. But like, it's just sad at this point. And I feel like I don't think any big club will touch him, to be honest with you. I think the biggest it might get to is Sporting Lisbon if he changes his tune on money. But like, Atletico, Napoli.
No.
The
AC,
Bayern rumor out right now. I don't know.
Bayern.
No,
I
apparently
don't think
that-
they will touch him either now.
No, yeah, Melissa Reddy, who's a Sky reporter, actually said Bayern Munich and Napoli is a no.
I can actually see it. Like PSG is probably the only club I can see being like, we don't give a shit. This is just, it's such a marketing thing to get Messi and Ronaldo in the same team. Like I can see them just being like,
they want to do that though. Would those two want to do that? Like, I don't know.
I don't know.
He just to be clear too, guys. He can't go to MLS. He's accused of raping a girl, and who's American is not allowed.
That still?
To travel to
I didn't know that was still in play.
My understanding is still is. I could be incorrect, but that was the last time I spoke to somebody about it or read something. It was he's not allowed to travel to the U.S. still. So
wow.
MLS,
let's confirm that.
Yeah, that could get fixed, or it could have been fixed, but that was my understanding.
Okay, so I mean, I guess I'll give my take as the Man United guy because there's so many like inflammatory, like salacious things being said, like about his legacy specifically. A lot of talk about this ruining his legacy. If you think that this ruined his legacy, then you were not aware of what his legacy was in the first place. He forced the move to go to Real Madrid. Like that's part of who he was when he was a hero at Man United. So this isn't worse than that because that was before he was hitting his prime years and we still found a way to love him. He came back and he played pretty well for one season. Great. Amazing. But the wheels fell off the cart. Not his fault. It's an age thing or a preseason thing or whatever. But like, this is now a player that is not Premier League quality, forcing a very public move. This interview was in essence I'm out of here. Yeah. Like I'm not quitting, but I'm quitting interview. Like this is a move, a very calculated move on his part to force something, whatever that ends up being. But I also think there's a certain degree of frustration on his part, not being able to tell his truth. And he kind of unpacked a lot of stuff that, I in a weird way, some of it actually is like, I don't mind. Like I actually kind of think, you know what, good for him for saying something about this or something about that. There are subjects within the interview I thought were like, yeah, that's like completely fine for him to go off and say some of these things. I just think a couple of things he said specifically during the course of the interview are going to get him off the team. And like in all essence, he is off the team. Like the pictures of this outside Old Trafford of Ronaldo are being peeled off.
They've taken down the mural, right?
Like he's never going to play at Old Trafford again. He was always going to get moved on. He's not wrong when he says things that they don't want him and they're trying to force him out. Like he's not wrong about this. Like they are trying to move him on. He is not working right now for this system and his attitude has probably been an issue. And there's a few other various things. So he's not wrong to feel like he's getting pushed out the door. He's wrong to forget that he's an older player who's not playing very well and that getting pushed out the door is not the crime he's making it sound to be. Like his job was still to perform at a high level and he wasn't doing it. So it's Man United's
mid-season,
and he's not huge wages.
So, but I will say some of the more worrisome parts of the interview haven't come out yet, where he deals with the loss of his son last year and the illness of his daughter, who's 3 months old at the start of spring training or training camp, and how he got the sense that some of the Man United board and president weren't believing him when he said, I can't go to training because, and it's like, it's a weird one. Cause like, unless they came right out and said, I don't believe you, he's dealing in perception of how they're taking it.
I was just going to say, because I could say, I don't know if I believe that as a story as well. Like it's different but I haven't heard it. I haven't heard that part of it because that's in part 2. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, mate, about like the legacy thing. It's hard for me to dispute because you're a Man United fan. You're allowed to say whatever, like he's your guy. It didn't take Michael Owen signing for Man United for him to be like, yeah, you're not really our boy. Like I get what you did. You won Ballon d'Or at Liverpool. You won a bunch of trophies at Liverpool, but like you ain't Ian Rush. You ain't Robbie Fowler, and like, to me, this separates him from like, you ain't Wayne Rooney, you ain't Eric Cantona. But like, if that's not the way it is for the average Man United fan, and I'm not talking about a Ronaldo simps here, because they're a totally different breed. Like they're a totally different breed. They're still trolling the internet, going like, he is the GOAT, he is the this, he is the that. But like this thing here, it's like Manchester United. Like the PR and the, like the legacy says, like one of, if not the biggest club in the world at certain times in history, right? And it's like, for this person to come out and like say these things off brand, what happened on Sunday was we're about to go on a 6-week break, and in vintage Man United fashion, like when he was in his heyday, an up and coming could be wonder kid like scores a last minute winner and sends Man United fans into the international break on this high, right? And I even watched that game, and as a Liverpool fan had that fuck, because you don't want your rivals to win in the last minute, right? And that is so different to like the indifference that I felt about United for the last little while. It's just a little bit like, like, yeah, I don't want them to win. But like the other day I was like, oh, like, could they be back? I see the way they score against the way they celebrated when they scored against Chelsea. So Chelsea took the lead from the penalty. And then when Casemiro scored, the way they were rallying in front of the fans, I was like, oh, is Ten Hag onto something? And then this guy comes out and does this on that same night.
Yeah, kind of ripped it apart, doesn't it, a little bit?
Bad.
Yeah, his timing's pretty shit. His timing's also very calculated in that like there's no press conferences anymore.
No matter what the result was.
Yeah. Like Eric Ten Hag's not going to have a press conference this weekend because it's the World Cup. Like there's no opportunity to set the record straight from at least the manager's point of view. So now Man United might have to have their own like response with legal and lawyers and stuff. I don't know if you guys caught this, but a fair amount of today's interview that was released was him talking about the new kids that are coming up. And it was like, I think he basically said that none of these kids, not Man United kids, just none of the kids playing football right now have the drive to have
other than Diogo Dalot.
And then he said like maybe, and it's like it's his boy Dalot who's like like
I think with him in Portugal.
Yeah, he probably carries his luggage off the bus for him. But like his general sense was like no kids in football today are gonna
willing to put in the work, right?
Are gonna have
boomer.
Specifically, he was like the longevity.
He does sound very old in that scenario, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he was like, I was just like, really? You think you've met all the kids in the entire world playing football right now that you don't think one or two of them will have like a 37-year-old career? Like there's like it was totally like this, like, oh, these kids today with their iPhones. Like when I was a kid, I had a ball and a wall.
Like an old guy.
No, but hang on a second. He's like all these. You're right. He's like these kids today with their iPhones. I'm the most followed person on Instagram. Yeah, I'm very. And the funny thing is, like with Kanye on Piers Morgan, Kanye was like, "Yeah, I'm funny too." When you're funny, you don't say you're funny, right? Ronaldo goes today, I'm very charismatic. Oh, are you now? That's not what's coming across the TV at all, to be honest with you.
Didn't he say something about his NFT right after complaining about the club being run like a business? And then like the next post on his Instagram is like, buy my NFT.
He did release an NFT like around this time. Does that help?
No, I know, but it's just the time.
It's just the irony that
one of the things that we don't know what this is going to be, and I think he does break out like an actual description of what his issue with Ten Hag is, and like what he is perceived to be the slight. But he has come out and said, I don't have respect for him because he doesn't have respect for me. If you don't respect me, I don't respect you. That's going to get him fired. Like that's
pretty brutal.
Pretty cut and dry.
That's a big one.
I think everybody's kind of holding their breath right now to find out, like, because did Ten Hag like make you run laps, or like, are you mad because he didn't put you on when we were losing 4-0 to Man City?
And that's like, what it looks like though when he walks off the pitch. The way he did that. Early, like it's just him throwing a tantrum more than anything.
I mean,
else.
this guy, Eric Ten Hag's got this guy who's one of the best players ever play the game. Doesn't show up for personal reasons, but doesn't show up to spring training. So he's behind everybody else in preparation.
Fitness
He's
isn't
not
there.
Fitness isn't there, but he hasn't learned the system or the way to play. And Ten Hag has a very specific way to play with strikers. So he, as he does with Casemiro, he beds him in slowly and gives him opportunity to get into matches, like not high caliber matches, but get your legs under you. And Ronaldo doesn't perform, doesn't score goals. And then he's not getting the starting spots. And even when he does get starting spots, he's kind of been like pretty petulant all year this year. He's left games at halftime. He's left games early. He's been disrespectful to fans and stormed away. And I think Eric Ten Hag's handled all of it like so well.
He's coming off really well.
Yeah, he's coming off.
Yeah. So
really
this is
well,
where this is the one, like, wait and see. Like, what is Ronaldo really gonna do here? Is there something we don't know collectively that was said or done, maybe in training or something? Or is this going to be like the final nail of like, wow, really, Ronaldo? You're pissed because he made you run laps with the rest of the team? Like,
he asked you to be a football player and to play on a team and to respect your team.
Oh, wait, hang on a second. He said you would play if you played better than Martial. Oh, no, that's crazy. What an unfair thing for you to have to do is fucking play better than Martial.
Shouldn't be that hard, right?
No. So that's, for me, that's going to be like a really big wait and see moment.
You know, Ronaldo's only had one season for Man United where he's hit 20 Premier League goals. One.
We never saw Ronaldo at his best.
Of course, but like he's only had one season in the Premier League where he scored 20 goals.
Yeah.
The number of players that we actually like, we're like, oh no, he can't be as good as Shearer, or like he can't be as good as Henry. You know, like there's so many players in the history of the Premier League where you don't rank them in a certain level. And like this person whose currency is goals, and he's meant to be like, you know, like look at Van Nistelrooy's goals, look at Rooney's goals, even look at Cantona's goals, look at Cole, Dwight York, like
Carlton Cole.
Yeah, like it's silly at this point, honestly. Like I think part of this is definitely because Man U were in the predicament that they were in. Although when they bought him, they had finished second, so he was meant to be here to come and like win the league or win the FA Cup. Sorry, win the Champions League.
No,
that was the
honestly,
intention.
I want to get on this quote.
He was bought to keep him out of Manchester City.
Yeah. Sure.
And that was, and I actually don't think he ever had any real intention to go to Manchester City. I think Manchester City was the only offer available until Man United found out that Ronaldo was available for purchase. And then I think the deal was done in a couple of hours.
Yes, 72 hours apparently.
Like, I think that was just like, I just think the agent maybe tried to separate the two parties so that they weren't aware of each other. And then as soon as they discovered each other, it all happened very quickly. So I don't think the Man City thing is that like I'm more mad at Wayne Rooney flirting with Man City than I am with Ronaldo flirting with Man City, if you can even call it flirting. But one of the things he has said that I think has
some merit,
I mean, definitely merit, because it's 100% true. It's what all the fans have been saying, but it's the opposite of what people are saying about his legacy. This is the thing that might be a weird cement of his legacy in a different way. Man United fans have wanted players and managers to take a stand publicly against the Glazers and the way they've managed and operated the facilities and the club, not the squad, but the actual club. And this is one of the first players who's not a former ex-player like Gary Neville or somebody, but like an actual in the clubhouse player who, at the detriment of his career at Man United, because it's over, has come forward and said what he thinks is a very low standard of facility, of investment, of...
He's right about that, Paul. You would agree. I think Connie would agree.
No, Brian, I know he walked off here. I'm not arguing it. I'm saying because he said it, because he's saying what the fans have wanted somebody to come forward and say. Yes, it's a bummer that he's like burnt his bridges and he's no longer be a Man United player. But if changes start to happen within the Glazers, or we get sold or something, then I think there's this weird flip to this, that his legacy might be something different because he's taking a stand. because
That's fair. I mean,
because-
I think you're reaching a bit, but I can see.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
I get the theory, but reaching is the right word. Ronaldo ain't no martyr. Like, Ronaldo ain't doing this for the greater good.
There's
like,
a lot.
It might drive the change. It might drive the change because it's Ronaldo.
Yeah, I think that's
like,
the key. The thing is, I don't think he's doing it for the greater good, but it
you're
might end up
absolutely
being
right.
for the greater good.
Guys,
for sure.
You might get lucky.
If we're talking about what the motivation is behind all this, I still think this is I want to get fired interview, right? But once you want to get fired, you're free to say whatever the fuck you want. And I think he's kind of taking a stand by saying some stuff that I know a lot of Man United fans are like really happy that somebody has come out and said these things. And I know that all the talk about his legacy being fucked and he's burnt this bridge and his legacy's tarnished and all this shit, which is largely driven by like the pundits and the clickbait articles. What I'm seeing is a lot of people going, fuck, is like, you see the guy's like saying what we've all wanted somebody to say on his way out the door when we don't really need him anymore. And we want him out the door anyways.
We wanted to see somebody flip off the owner as he left, and here it goes.
Yeah.
And we got to give him a little bit of a clap for it because you know what? At least he's still doing this. Even if it's a giant FU to everybody else as he walks.
Totally. It's not like it's a Bruno Fernandes going to Real Madrid and saying this where we're just like, oh my God, he's forced to move and he's like telling off the owners. Like, this is him out the door. We don't need him. We all agree on that. And like, he's going to say some shit about the owners that we've all wanted to be said about the owners. So I don't know. It's just a weird interview because everything always ties back to this argument about what this does to his legacy and does it tarnish his legacy and all this kind of shit. And in the end, it may not be a tarnish. It may be something completely different because he is being a little bit of a bitch and saying a lot of bitchy things, but also he's calling out the owners and he's calling out the state of the club in a way that everybody's wanted to have happen for a while. And then I will say that I thought this is actually kind of a poignant quote that he said. It's as Picasso said, you have to destroy it to rebuild it. And I think he's basically saying like, everything that's happened at United's ownership level, like just have to like start fresh. But he's also clearly not enamored with a new manager. So it's probably about the manager and a bunch of other statements he said. So I don't know. It's a bummer. I'm personally kind of like, I would have been nice to see Ronaldo go on a happier note. But the more I'm living with this interview and the more I'm actually seeing it, I'm not mad at him. I have no like feeling of betrayal whatsoever. I'm sad for his family and like a lot of the personal like stuff that he's been revealing, a lot of the explanation of like what has gone through last year. And like, it's almost like explains like a lot of dip in form and stuff. Like there's a lot of like hurt behind the interview and the events that he kind of describes. So yeah,
it's the human side of it, right? Like there's more to it than just like what's happened with the football side of it. I just think his timing is poor. He could have done all of those exact same things at the end of the season after he got a move. He could have done everything behind closed doors, coming out and doing this on Piers Morgan of all freaking people.
Yeah.
It's just classless. And I think that's the part of it that people have a bad taste in their mouth about. I don't mind what he said. I think he's probably right about the club in most of the ways when it comes to the lack of investment, the poor investment, how many managers, Sir Alex, all that stuff. And of course, whatever's happening with Ten Hag, who knows? But it just seems to me like you have an opportunity timing wise to treat your teammates specifically with more respect. And he's just not giving them the respect they deserve.
Let's check this out. Did anyone see the comparison video of Piers Morgan storming?
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Yeah. Cheers, Liam.
I
have not seen that. And I will be looking that up. After
it's basically like that's the exact same thing we're watching right now. It's like it's a good correlation for sure.
What an odd couple, by the way, Piers Morgan and Ronaldo, because Piers Morgan used to rip into Ronaldo all the time.
They became friends at some point. I'm not sure how, but
and now they're besties.
Yeah, both petulant bitches, basically.
Yeah, and like, what a layup of an interview! Like, there's so few counter. Like, hey, by the way, when you say about being disrespected, do you think it's appropriate that you leave at halftime during games? Like, what's your stance on that? Like, he does not give him any like. Well, from the outside looking in, you look like a bit of a petulant.
Yeah,
bitch.
he's not making it difficult for him. He's making it easy. It's a layup. It's a layup.
Yeah.
It's like, He's like, yes, you are so much better looking than Wayne Rooney. Oh, so pretty,
but
Ronaldo.
nobody knew that.
He was so cringe. He was so cringe, Piers Morgan. Like,
Yeah, it's gross.
That
I just think his timing could have been much better. He could have done it in a classier way and thought about his teammates. I think when you're in the middle of a season and you're kind of throwing your team under the bus in the middle of it,
that is probably the most awkward part of the interview that I've seen so far is when he talks about like what it's like for former players to criticize him publicly, and he makes it sound like such a betrayal.
Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, okay. Gary Neville, his life and his job now are to give his honest opinion about like football. And he loves Man United more than he loves any player at Man United. So a lot of the stuff he has said about Cristiano Ronaldo is probably pretty hard to hear if you're Ronaldo, but not like coming from a malicious place, I don't think. But Wayne Rooney is like said fucking not very much at all about Ronaldo. I think the last thing he said was like, he's not playing all that well. I don't know if the kind of behavior he's doing would be accepted. I heard Roy Keane said it's okay. And I played with Roy Keane and he would have thrown a boot at me or something. Like that wasn't even about Ronaldo. It was more about Roy Keane being kind of hypocritical.
Yeah.
Which is like completely true. So yeah, I don't know. That was probably the cringiest part of the interview is where he like kind of bitched about they're not my friends, they're my former colleagues.
Yeah, well, they've been friends. They were friends for a long time, even after Ronaldo left. But it seemed like for many years they have probably grown apart, and now it's like two friends that used to be best friends, and now they kind of like snicker at each other type moment. And so it's just a weird setup.
The thing with Ronaldo is though, like he deliberately comes over. If like Carragher's standing there, this is before the Gary Neville. He deliberately comes. So then he did it again with Neville, and he came and said hello to Jamie Redknapp, so he could show Gary Neville that he's punking him.
Yeah.
I'm obviously going to be on this side.
No, that's
on this side.
Pathetic.
It's like he's pathetic. He's pathetic. And like, you've got Andrew Tate, you've got Kanye West, and you've got Cristiano Ronaldo. They're the caliber of guests that are his contemporaries on the Piers Morgan show. Like, that says a lot. Like that right there is like.
It's interesting that you think that we're on a divide about this, though. Like,
no. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying what I'm saying is I would be on this side, as in I'm probably like.
There's a bias there. You're admitting your bias.
I'm probably
you already didn't like him.
Yeah. Well, I'm also a Messi guy. Firstly, I'm Messi. Secondly, I would say, like you see it with Steven Gerrard's a great example. Trent Alexander-Arnold's a great example. Like there are a lot of people who just decide to like throw the boot in. Throw the boot into a guy who's won every single competition already in his career, and he's 22. And people are like, you can't play him in a knockout game. Bitch, he won the Champions League. He's won the Champions League. Like who care? Like Trippier's gonna play right back. Like
I honestly don't know what people expect. Like, do you guys all expect defenders to be able to defend? That's crazy, everybody.
I know, shocking, right?
So you can win the Champions League and the Premier League with a guy who cannot defend. Is that possible?
If he can score from corners, and
you have way more of the ball than the other team more often than not, then you don't have to defend nearly as much.
Yeah, of course. Let's not get into a Trent Alexander-Arnold. When everything is working in full flight, he is perfect for that Liverpool team.
For a system. Yeah.
When things are not quite clicking at perfection, he is going to be exposed more. And when he's exposed, he's a risk. And that's just how he fits into that team. Like, but he's so young. It's not like he can't get better at certain aspects of his game as well. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a fucking phenomenal player. I am just
can't wait for Boxing Day.
No idea what you're talking about.
No idea what you're talking about. I can't wait for it. I think
is there a sale?
What are you buying? You getting a new TV there, JP? What's going on?
He's buying a
Hey guys, watch this segue. You know what is a sale? everything at Brighton if you're Chelsea.
Everything for sale at Brighton.
Well,
Oh, nice one, Paulie. That was good. That was good.
So,
That was
I mean, this is just more of a weird factoid if it's more than anything else.
It's-
Apparently Chelsea looked at Brighton and said, you know who does things really well for the money they have? Brighton.
guys.
You know who we could probably poach from? Brighton. The manager, the assistant manager, the first team coach, the goalkeeping coach, the player of the season, the head of recruitment, and the assistant head of recruitment have all been poached from Brighton to go to the new look Chelsea. And I mean, listen, let's talk about the manager first, because I think it's probably starting to that point. Potter's not looking that good.
Yeah,
He
he
needs
looks
some
uncomfortable. I don't know that he's can play his system with the players he has, which you'd expect after going to a new team and not having a lot of time with him. He's only been there for a few months, but yeah, it's surprising. I did expect him to see them playing. They're playing pretty good in the Champions League, but the league form has been piss poor. I think they've won one game a month in the last 4 months. It's been really, really bad. I don't see him coming out of it anytime soon. It doesn't look like there's something going on. They're like, oh, they're getting there. They're just not winning games. It just doesn't look like they're playing very good football, and they don't have an identity. And I think that's something about Brighton that we would all agree on. Brighton had an identity with him. Like there was a certain style that they played. It was very attacking. They like to keep the ball, wing backs flying up and down the pitch. You knew when you're playing Brighton, they were going to play a certain way. With Chelsea, I don't see that. He hasn't been able to put that mark on them yet. And that could just be time. And often is with managers. I think we often get too ahead of ourselves thinking, oh, he's going to go in there and change things. He has some of the players that he's going to need to do that. A lot of them are injured though, like the Reece James of the world. They'll be fine next season. I think I don't think they'll finish in the Champions League this season. I think they're going to struggle to finish top 6 at this point if they continue the way they are. But
he also hasn't really had his time to do what Potter is apparently really good at, and that's build a team with cohesion.
Yeah, that's time. That's time. That's exactly what I'm saying. I think
that's like
over the course of the summer, he's going to get that.
Almost like there's stories that come out of like what his training camps are like, and it's like guys being tied together, go out into the woods and like just these like
catch a fish.
Just like these weird,
major, right? So he's playing with their minds, trying to get them all connected.
Not training drills on the playground kind of stuff. More like off-field bonding, trust exercises, shit. Where like, and it worked for him at Brighton. So I have no qualms with what I'm describing. I just know that when you pick up the job mid-season, you can't do that. And also, I mean, there's a certain novelty to that kind of management that maybe players at a certain level at a club like Chelsea are not as receptive to it. Like, I could see there being a certain resistance with like, well, that's cute that you guys did that at Brighton, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, this is a big club. We don't do that here. You kind of,
yeah.
I can see that for sure.
But yeah, I mean, the core takeaway though is that Chelsea are not looking good right now, and that he has not had the impact I think everybody kind of thought he would, because that Chelsea squad was always underperforming, and they've just continued to underperform.
Is it arguably quickly? Sorry, JP, but is it arguably coming in mid-season you'd expect? He got like a 4-year contract. I think going into the mid-season, he probably said in those negotiations, I'm going to need a summer before you're going to see any changes. I don't think the ownership is going to think of sacking him before the end of the season if he doesn't get a job. I know that they have a history of that, but I think under new ownership, maybe not. I'm just curious if that's part of, I'm just speculating, part of his deal is like, make sure I get a summer, a January window and a summer window to do what I normally do with clubs.
I don't think any manager is promised.
Not promised, but that would have been part of the discussions.
Yeah, for sure. But like, I mean, I think that's time is probably part of every discussion when a manager gets hired.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it'll backfire on him. I feel bad for Potter. I don't think he'll be there for very long.
I was just going to say on that point, I can see that conversation being like, hey, I'm going to need some time, blah, blah, blah. They're like, yeah. However, if Brighton finish above you, you're gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they are right above them.
If you
right now,
drop out of the 8th spot, you're fired. Yeah.
So what do you think the Vegas odds are that he's going to go?
I don't think he's
before the end of the year.
I don't think he's next.
I think he'll finish this season, and I think there'll be questions over him over the summer, and they'll be determine, what players they might be able to bring in, and the conversation that they have will so like
over under. Actually, you know what? You know who we know for sure? So Ivan Toney has been charged.
Speaking of betting,
Wait,
by the
that's a
FA.
really good
On
part.
the segue king today. There,
We can go back
Paul.
to butter, but I'm gonna finish the joke. Ivan Toney's been charged by the FA with 232
232
breaches of betting rules. 231 of them were to vote himself for the Golden Boot this season, and then one of them was to make the Team England squad. So we'll find out how that goes. But like, what the fuck? 232
How does this even happen?
fucking breaches. And like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
so
for context of this, like Brian's gonna give us like some detail, but for the context of this, Kieran Trippier was banned for 10 games because he had a conversation with a friend when the friend was like, "Hey man, like what are the odds that you're gonna go to Atletico Madrid?" And he's just like, "It's a solid bet, man." And that's it.
Yeah.
And then that guy went off and made a legitimate, actual, like solid bet on it, and was fucking.
How does
They were
one
caught.
even trace that? How do you even trace
It was
that?
videotaped.
Yeah. Right, is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
Of
like,
course it was. Ivan
so-
Toney cannot get, like, if he gets in trouble, he was videotaped getting in trouble every single time he does.
So
this.
just to
It's
be,
him.
so this is between the years of 2017 to 2021. So it's over the course of 4 years, 232 bets. There's a pattern here. It's absurd. He's
It's
arguably
almost like one game a bet.
A week.
Yeah.
it is. Essentially, it is mentioned that there's talk of him talking to his friends. So it's arguably it's he's in that moment where he's bragging about something, and I'm going to go do this, and put a bet on it if you want, and like you said, it's been recorded. I don't know this again. That's speculation. The problem with this right now is the FA don't release detail of this, and so the charges have been sort of, they speak about them, and they've gone to court and whatnot. So right now, all we know is that the charges have been laid, and they've somewhat spoken about what they likely are, and it's him. They compared it with Trippier and said that it's him talking to people, and that's kind of where the FA have a problem with it. And I forget the rule. The rule number is E8 is rule FA rule E8 232 times. So E8 is probably that. I haven't looked it up, but it's probably that rule where you're not allowed to speak to your friends and family about results you think are going to happen or things that are going to happen. It does sound like it's weekly, 232 times over the course of 4 years. You do a little bit of math here. Like this is there's a habit here that's very.
But
specific.
like this is so like
Specific.
weird because like it. Hey, like we're all talking to each other right now. If I was a Man United player and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I think Ronaldo really fucked over the team. I don't think we're going to see him again. You could bet on what I just said. I don't know what you're going to do with the information I'm telling his friends. You know what I mean? Like, unless I specifically said, guys, here's a hot tip. You should go bet that Ronaldo is not going to be on Man United again. Then, okay, maybe I've actually like crossed the line. But otherwise
it's
like,
just
what's he
talk,
saying?
right?
Like, what's he saying? Like, I'm going to smash it tonight. Bet on me to score 2 goals. Okay, fuck. Like, his job is to go score goals. He doesn't know he's going to score 2 goals.
Yeah, I think, okay, so here's what the actual rule states. It's just a brief one. Footballers who play in England are banned from making any type of bet on football or asking others to do so on their behalf. The FA Rule E8 also bans the sharing of privileged information for the purposes of betting, and sanctions can be tough. So, yeah, it's vague, right? It doesn't really specify.
It is vague, but I wonder if it's like along the lines of like subbing patterns or something.
Based on what
like,
you just described, is it more likely that he bet on something himself or that he's just sharing information?
I think it's hard to say because again, we don't know the specifics of it. It would be it'd be interesting to find out exactly.
So he could have been a Pete Rose. He could have been actually actively betting.
He 100% based on that rule, the way it's stated.
So I'm going to say this very clearly, just so I can be on the record. I think if he's been betting on anything other than for him to score or for them to win, he should be like hardcore ban. Like you're done. You're done. Like if he bet for Brentford to lose a game, you're done. You're
done.
Like you are done, and I have no problem with it whatsoever. If, however, it's proven that he has bet on himself to score or for Brentford to win, like positive outcomes that are what he gets paid to do, I'm actually kind of okay with it, and I feel like we should just kind of like not Pete Rose the guy and just fucking like let it slide.
Yeah, it's such a weird one because again, I keep reading about it, and it's so vague. How they determine these things. I mean, did they, like you said, do they have video? Is it social media? Like,
yeah,
what was it that that came up, and how real is it?
Yeah, because Trippier is like a different situation. Like that guy like had a conversation that was captured on a phone, and it was again that's the worry for Ivan Toney, and I think anybody who's a fan of Ivan Toney. And this could get really sad really fast. This is a guy who is like getting to a level of striker.
He won't play again for the rest of the season. Like this could put.
Oh my!
Yeah, and
what is this going to do to Brentford?
They go down. They go down because of this potential.
My goodness.
Yeah, and they go down, and he was lined up to make a significant move to a higher he's attached to Man United. Like he's attached to top 6 clubs easily.
Yeah.
And that probably goes out the door because you just can't have that kind of a dark cloud in your background following you up the ladder.
Yeah.
So he has to go off to Turkey or someplace.
And Brentford sponsors us Hollywood Bets as well, which is
I didn't even read that. I'm just looking at his shirt now, though. That's hilarious.
You know what? Maybe he just had a whole set of free bets with Hollywood Bets, and he just randomly blah blah blah.
And now to our sponsor, Hollywood Bets.
Yeah. I don't know. I really think if he was betting on himself to score or for Brentford to win, there's no the rule is there so that you cannot influence the outcome of the sport.
Remember that guy who said, "Hey, you need to make sure to put a bet that I'm going to eat a pie during the game." Did you guys remember that? The backup goalie? Yeah, he's sitting there, he sneaks out, he starts eating the pie where everybody can see him eating the pie so that his buddies can make bets on it. And then he was caught, and he had to basically just give up soccer. He quit on the moment,
in the most predictable outcome ever.
Yeah, I mean,
you see that guy?
That's so dumb. But yeah, my point is, I guess, because I would hate for this to happen if I found out that he was making bets that were on him scoring or Brentford winning, both things that he has to want as professional playing for Brentford and as a striker. Then I would have a hard time seeing this ruin his career.
I get that, but I also
only get mad if it was against things. Like the outcome was suggesting that he wasn't doing his job. He wasn't trying as hard as.
But he knows the rules, Paul, and he's a professional footballer. As much as that the rule may be vague and silly, and maybe not it doesn't really, specifically focus on what you're talking about. He has to know that what he's doing is wrong. Like you can't bet on yourself in your team you're playing on. It's illegal. Like it's every players know this. They've been taught this and shown this, and they've seen other players go down because of it. You're just being an idiot at that point. You're just being selfish and stupid. And somebody in his team, his management, whoever is in charge of other things. Needs to be sitting him down and saying you can't do this on social media. You can't do this anymore. You're going to ruin your career.
There's no chance that this guy has a team. There's no chance.
He probably should though, because it's just embarrassing. I mean, you should to get 232 bets. It's not one or two. It's once a week.
My sympathy
for 4
him
years
would be if he kind of gets caught up. Like Trippier did, where maybe he has a buddy who is a Brentford fan, and he just tells him every week, we kind of worked on these type of things, and the fan says, okay, they worked on corners. I'm gonna go put a bet on corners, and he doesn't tell Ivan Toney. So Ivan Toney is giving him information, believing he's just feeding a fan's desire to know about the club, and the fans also
his buddy's telling him
bets.
I made $100.
No, but he's not telling them the whole time, and they're tracing that back to Ivan Toney. That's where I feel a little sympathy.
I kind of feel
that's true, maybe.
If I'm a forensic scientist here, I'm gonna just say 232 incidents.
That's fucking
sounds more like they know he's placed. Not that a friend of a friend or a friend directly placed bets. That sounds more likely that we know you personally bet 232 times. Because to be able to to know that he's influenced 232 bets of other people, that's I don't even know how
shows a habit, Paul. It
shows a habit, but I just don't know how you would even track down that many people that he's influenced. How do you know? The but the forensics behind being able to pull those threads together, that's such a high number that when the number is that high, and that specific, it feels more like they know for sure that he has placed
Absolutely,
232 bets.
I agree.
And
I think that becomes obvious at that point for sure.
And that's where it's like, wow, fuck.
Dummy.
So
Yeah.
dumb. And if he misses an
dumb.
entire year again for 232
that's
bets,
it.
where he was just letting it ride that he's going to score a goal next game, and it was like a £5 bet each time, because it could be like
he was going to
we don't
make
know.
Brentford so much money when he was sold too. He was going to make them 30 or 40 million.
He was
I
going
know.
to keep him in the Premier League this
He was
season.
yeah.
JP, he had a £10 bet on that.
yeah, exactly right. Well, he's gonna lose that one.
Terrible.
God damn it!
I know, but like that. I mean, this
guy just.
The more I think about
like
this, the more I'm like
terrible
digesting this news. The more I'm like, this is really bad, man. Like this
This
is a guy that we were all rooting for being a part of a bigger stage, and
he getting left out of the World Cup squad because of it. Like, everybody's like, why isn't Ivan Toney in the World Cup squad? Why didn't he make it to England squad? And then you find out, oh, he's being charged like 2 days later after everybody's complaining about it. Well, this is why. I mean, the FA knew and knew what they were working on, and that he wasn't going to be fit for playing for England. So he's going to miss a massive. He'll never get that chance again, probably.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if there's an injury, he would have been on the plane. I'm sure of it.
He would have been like a really good player to bring on, and 20 minutes left. And if Kane's tired and they're up a couple of goals against whoever they're playing, he's a good, solid striker who scores goals, and it's just it's a massive miss for him and for his club and for his country.
And this is not going to be. I can't see this being a situation that's resolved anytime soon. So I think he'll probably get suspended until the investigation is concluded. That probably is enough time for Brentford season to get fucked. And then there we go.
Yep. It's a shame.
And the irony of all this is that we're all going to go spend some money and bet on Brentford to go down now.
Yeah, like we all do.
It's a good show. Vegas next month, guys. Put a $5 on that for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put
more than a $5.
$232 on that.
Yeah, that's that's classic.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm gonna be like, this one's for you, Ivan. That's a drag. I'm half joking about it, but it actually makes me kind of sad.
And a bet we'll make.
Yeah. Well, that's the show, guys. I think unless anybody else wants to talk about anything, there's no Premier League football to talk about anymore. So it's
we got too long without it. It's gonna be such a weird.
Boxing Day is going to feel like, besides the games, like the next match up being on Boxing Day is kind of awesome.
It's great, but it's the fact that we're building up to it with a World Cup, and then it goes right into it with players having a week off.
I can't wait for Harry Kane to get a broken ankle. That would be great.
It's going to be messy. So
why are you wishing for somebody to get injured? That's not.
I know. Like, fucking.
Sorry.
Thank God.
Fine. Harry Kane to need 3 weeks off because he can't come back and play right after a big tournament.
Are you already afraid of Harry Kane?
I know. It's pathetic, right?
Actually, it's usually his son that screws us over. So,
well,
he's injured.
His form has been, no, he's playing for his national.
No, he's injured, right?
No,
he's playing for his national team. He's in training with a mask on today.
He's going to be the masked bandit.
He will be playing. I don't know if he'll play the first couple games, but he'll be playing.
Yeah, he's going to look pretty badass.
Quick one before we sign off, guys. Predictions on who do we think is going to win the World Cup? Just a quick one. Don't have to spend too much time on it.
The good people of Qatar.
They're the winners for sure. I'm going to go with Brazil. I think Brazil's got.
Oh, fuck you!
Yeah, enough to win.
I was going to think Brazil.
I can still pick them. You don't know.
Actually, I have Brazil as well. Like I've actually put money down.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Zaz, you got anybody?
Between Brazil and France.
Yeah, I think France have got a lot of key injuries. And I think the aging squad and the team that the holders, they're the holders, right?
Yeah.
Typically have a really shit World Cup.
Definitely,
the next one after being the
holders. Did we work out who we're going to send as a live correspondent to Qatar?
I think note to our people watching.
Is it Azaz? Is it Azaz? All right. I think we can all agree.
Did you see Azaz? You can't be recording and then talking.
We wanted you to act surprised, but we're going to send you to Qatar to be the North End.
Yeah, so look for a bit of content. We recognize that Azaz will probably be very busy doing other things, but we'll get some videos posted.
You will. You absolutely will.
Cool. He'll be walking around,
not drinking beer. Yeah, 80-pound beer.
Oh man, yeah. I spoke to another guy. I was at the Dunright watching a Spurs match, and he's going as well. And he was talking about the places that he's staying at and how much everything costs, and like they're serving people drinks, like 6 drinks maximum, 4 hours before the game, and then not allowing people to drink like 2 hours, like from when you get into the stadium. So everybody's gonna like binge drink, and like the cost of it is absurd. I was like, what? I don't understand any of the logic of this. This doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't
Really
make any sense.
Like, this is going to go down as the worst World Cup.
By far. It's going to be so messy.
Yeah.
But you have a good time, Azaz.
I can't
Yeah.
wait.
know you will.
Sorry to drop that right there, Azaz.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
So Azaz like, well, fuck everybody. You don't get any videos. I'm not coming back.
I'll go by myself.
Yeah.
I think when we say this is like the worst World Cup ever is still like the worst Christmas ever. Like it's still
True.
going to
World
be
Cup, yeah.
awesome because it's
Gonna
the
be
World
awesome.
Cup.
Yeah. Remember in 2021 when we were like some of the games that the Euros were gonna be without fans, and it was still better than not having a Euro.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fair. Good point.
We're all just jealous. Just know that.
So everybody thinks Brazil's going to win. Azaz, did you have? Oh, you said.
I
Brazil.
said France or Brazil.
I had actually earlier said Canada. I don't know if you.
Yeah, I do recall that.
Yeah.
I do believe you were joking, but either way, that would be good.
I'm gonna just say I don't care who wins it. I just want to see England lose to USA. That's it.
Yeah, that's a big wishful
I
thinking.
think
That's
we
the
all-
only win they could win
couldn't
in the
even
whole
beat Canada,
group.
man. You
I don't
couldn't
care.
even beat Canada. Never mind.
Trust me, I know. That's what I'm saying. That's all I want to see. That's
England
my
have been bad recently, though.
They have been terrible.
But you know what? Harry Kane made a good point about this, and he said
Maguire's going to start.
the pressure on England is a lot less because going into a World Cup with really good form, the expectations are really high because you're expecting the team to continue to play at that level. Whereas they played so poorly going into this World Cup that the expectations are low. England's media aren't all over the players, aren't all over the team, making them feel uncomfortable. They're just going to ease into it and have a good tournament. I don't know if that's that it's good logic or not, but it certainly doesn't feel like the same as it did in the previous Euros and previous World Cup where the pressure was high and heavy on England. The expectations were there. So.
If England gets to the quarterfinals, I'll be stoked.
What's
I
that?
think if England got to the quarterfinals, they should take that as a good tournament.
Yeah, I would agree. I think
all this focus on England. I don't understand.
Well, they've done well in the last 2 tournaments.
Yeah.
So
it'll be nice to see that instead of the English team getting uncomfortable by the English press, it'll be the Qatar security guards making this English press uncomfortable.
Yes,
that's gonna be a nice. Like I bet the English players will really appreciate the stories of like how the press are harassed by various bodies about all this stuff.
Where's your credentials? Where's your credentials?
Have you seen that interview with the Danish reporter outside a stadium?
Yes.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It's already beginning. It's
just gonna get worse too.
Zaz, be careful while you're there, buddy.
Yeah.
Will do, mate.
Yeah.
Oh,
Don't speak English.
Yeah. Try to avoid it. Cool. All right, Paulie, sign us off, buddy.
All right. Well,
subscribe to Luke Conley's OnlyFans.
Yeah.
OnlyFans.
Maybe if you like his channel, subscribe to this one.
Yeah, it's Big Feet, Little Feet. At
Hoods, I think they're called Hoods.
Luke Connolly /
underscore
Hoods
/ we mail you socks / good night, everybody.
This is the North End. This is the North End.